Good morning. My name is Dana Arthur. Today we're going to be talking about the RDL, or otherwise known, more appropriately known as the Romanian deadlift. For obvious reasons, I'm in my backyard, and as a high school football coach, this week is the dead week. So players, coaches cannot be on campus, and especially with the state of everything with the coronavirus and everything, I didn't want to chance it and get in trouble. So we're just doing this simple demonstration in my backyard with the broomstick. Obviously, it'll be used with a bar. But before we get started with in the nuts and bolts of the RDL or the Romanian deadlift, I want to just talk about the benefits of it. Obviously, the benefits of it is it really targets the posterior chain, which is essential because it focuses on it is your propeller as a runner. It glides or propels you as an athlete. So the muscles that it primarily targets is the gluteus maximus, the semimembranosus, the semitendinosus, the bicep femoris, also known as your hamstring, the erector spinae is your lower back. Now, one thing that the book doesn't necessarily talk about, the muscles that it targets. It also, in my opinion, my experience, I also believe that it targets your latissimus dorsi, your lats, and then your rhomboidosis major, which is, the muscle in between your lats, in between your shoulder blades. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. All right, so obviously this is going to be a barbell, but right now we're just using a broomstick. You are going to grab the bar, okay, with a closed pronated grip using a clean grip. And when I say clean grip, it's outside the frame of your body. So right now it's out on the outside of the frame of my body. Now, there's another variation in which you could use a snatch grip, okay? But today we're just going to be focusing on the clean grip. Now, when we say closed, we're saying fingers across the bar and thumbs over fingers, okay? Then another alternative you could use as far as the grip is you could use a hook grip, which wrap your thumb first and wrap your fingers around the thumb, okay? And this is mainly, if you're dealing in loads that are more excessive than the athlete's grip strength, the hook grip will help. I also like to use the hook grip on RDLs to introduce our athletes to using a hook grip when we're cleaning and when we're snatching. So obviously the first step on doing RDL is you can either have it on hooks or you'll deadlift the bar from the floor, chest up, using your hips and your legs to drive up, not your butt. But we're not talking about the deadlift. So right now what we're going to do is I'm going to back up just a little bit so you can see. All right. You want to slightly, and I need to pull my shorts up just a little bit. You want to slightly, right now my knees are fully extended, okay? What you want to do is, you got your clean grip, hold my shorts up. You want to slightly flex your knees, okay? Slightly, okay? And then from there, okay, once you flex your knees, all right, from there, then you want to, once your knees are flexed, you're going to keep them this slightly flexed throughout the entire duration of the lift, through the concentric and the eccentric phase of the lift. Now, another thing that is important to the RDL is you want to flex your lats, okay? All right, and so your back is nice and straight and rigid, all right, along with your rhomboid. This will help keep a nice flat back on the way down. Now, when you go down, so let's talk about this. You're going to begin by flexing. So my knees are slightly flexed. You're going to begin by, my lats are flexed. You're going to begin by flexing your hips backwards. Okay? So you are going to allow them, okay? You're going to flex your hips backwards, but at the same time, you want to remain in constant contact, the bar with constant contact with your body. So my knees are slightly flexed. All right, I'm in an erect position. I'm going to slowly, okay, flex my hips backwards, okay, while I'm going all the way down. Now, when you come up, okay, while keeping a nice flex back, all right, then you want to flex your hips in. Notice how the whole time I kept constant contact with the bar. All right. Now, during the whole phase of the lift, notice that I am keeping a rigid torso through the lift. I'm not letting my back slump over or flex or putting any pressure on my my lumbar or thoracic spine. I am keeping a rigid back throughout the entire lift. All right. Now notice when you're coming up. All right. The same thing. Your knees should be flexed. Okay. And then driving, you're flexing your hips forward. Okay. Now let's talk about coaching cues. Okay. Before, obviously we talked about the grip and I kind of coached that a little bit, but we're still using a closed pronated grip on the bar. I always tell the athletes, I'll walk up behind them and I'll put my hand right in the middle of their back. All right, and I'm gonna say, I want you to pretend like I got a ball right there in between your shoulder blades. All right, I said, squeeze that ball right now. Do not let it go. So that's number one, is I tell them to pinch the ball. Okay, which is obviously flexing the scapula and the lats. Now, as far as slightly flexing the knees, this is the simple, easy way I can tell them. Is right now my knees are locked. Let me back up a little bit. Right now my knees are extended, or otherwise known as locked. I tell them to unlock your knees. That's all the flexion you need. Just unlock your knees, and that's all you need. Okay, and then lock that position, which means don't flex them anymore, don't extend them anymore. It's unlock them and then lock them with the knees. Another coaching cue that I teach, and I think is the good visual for them, and I'll use another kid, is I want them to pretend that they're being controlled by a puppeteer. All right, when I say being controlled by a puppeteer, is you have a string attached to your lower back that is going up, and you also have a string attached to your chest that is going down. And I said, I want you to pretend like that puppeteer is pulling your chest down but keeping your hips high. So in doing so, okay, as they go to flex the hips backwards, I want them to focus on keep the hips high, chest down, okay? And then the puppeteer is obviously going to release the pressure. And you're going to flex the hips back in. Now, here's another one that, with inexperienced athletes that, I've run into is they always, when an athlete gets a forward lean on any type of lift, the first thing their body naturally wants to do is they want to lean forward. And so you'll see them on their toes and, et cetera, et cetera. So I tell them before they even begin the down portion of the lift, okay, I tell them you want to, and you can't, it's hard to see with my feet right here. I said, once you squeeze the ball, unlock your knees. Now I want you to wiggle your toes, okay? If you cannot wiggle your toes, you do not have enough pressure on the back and the outside of your foot, which is where we want the pressure. So I tell them to wiggle their toes throughout the entire lift. If they cannot wiggle their toes, that means there's too much weight forward, and the focus of their weight and the force needs to be through the heels of the ball of the foot and to the outside of the foot. Now, when we're coming out, when we're going down, I tell them to think of themselves as a slingshot or a bow and arrow or a crossbow, something. All right, as you're going down, I want them to think about they are a loaded spring, okay? And they'll feel that in their hamstrings. They'll feel that tension, that pull on their hamstrings. All right, now in order to shoot the arrow, okay, you got to pull the trigger, okay? Well, what is our trigger mechanism in this particular lift? Is I tell them to squeeze their butt, or AKA their glutes, okay, to fire the arrow. Squeeze their butts, which will bring their hips through the extension. Now, as far as keeping the bar in contact, you do not want the bar coming out, okay, during the lift, okay, because that's going to change the angle of the fulcrum, the angle, in which you're working. By bringing the bar at least an inch away from your body, that's just going to change you know, that the angle in which you're working. So you want to keep constant contact. So another thing that I teach my athletes, or tell my athletes on coaching cue, is to shave their body with the bar. So I tell them to imagine that the bar is a razor, okay, and every little follicle of hair on their legs, I want them to shave. So as they're going down, they're pushing their hips out, they shave, 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 wiggle their toes, okay, and fire the trigger, boom, okay, which is squeezing the butt. Now the biggest, you know, the other thing is when inexperienced athletes, or any athlete for that matter, when they're initially doing the RDL, they're going to want to try to go down and touch the ground, okay? Or they're going to try to go as low as possible, okay? Everybody's body is going to be different because they're different anatomically built, whether it's long arms, long torso, shorter torso, whatever. I tell them their target, as far as, you know, in order to get that good initial feel of the RDL, is when they're pushing the hips back, their target should be anywhere from just below the knee to mid-shin, okay? If they can go any lower than that, then I need to, you know, analyze the movement, analyze anything they're doing wrong, and then make adjustments. Now, however, if, you know, if we're getting some athletes that can go all the way down, simple, easy fix is for them to widen their grip. Now, here's some let's talk about some, you know, I've already talked about some bad examples, but I'm going to talk about some more. So the first one that you'll get is you'll get athletes that are, their knees are too stiff. It's almost locked. Essentially, that turns into a straight leg deadlift. Okay? And again, it changes the angle in which the force of the fulcrum is applied. There could be too much knee bend. And essentially, you're not loading the coils, you're loading the spring as far as your hamstrings and your glutes and your lower back, okay? When I say too much knee bend, I'm talking about, I mean, sometimes athletes, when they go down, they want to bend their knees more. They don't understand the concept. They want to push their hips down and not back, so they'll bend their knees more to compensate. And then also the bend in their lumbar or thoracic spine on the way down, which is, you know, here now it changes, and again the bar is going to get away from the body, and it's going to change the angle in which everything is attacked.